Hello and welcome to Dungeoneered, a podcast dedicated to discussing Dungeons and Dragons. I'm Aaron.
And I'm Josh.
It took forever. I don't know if that was Discord, but that took forever.
No, that was me. I realized that your audio wasn't being recorded on my end, so we didn't have a safety. And I'm like, oh shoot, it's not getting him at
Josh,
all.
we're professional podcasters.
I fixed that. Yeah, we're professional podcasters.
Yeah, as the ground trembles.
Yeah.
That has to do with our surprise, right?
Yes, it does.
But anyways, I was thinking, I didn't say let's do this. Let's do this. Okay, now we're done. Anyways, I was telling you yesterday, when we were doing our fun stuff and things, I was like, man, I was telling you about how I hurt my arm the other day. Did I tell you the full story about how I hurt my arm?
Not fully, no.
Okay, so on Thursday morning, I got up for work, normal stuff, and I went to go make my bed because I had to make my bed every morning, otherwise I can't function.
Did you hurt yourself doing a menial task?
Yes, I did, but it's even worse because my bed is like a Japanese pull-out bed, so you can like pull it out and then like push it back in and stuff, and then I put everything in a little closet. And so what I did is like got up, grabbed my first blanket, folded it, which, to be honest, it's a weighted blanket, and it's 20 pounds, so, pretty heavy. But grabbed that, put it away, grabbed the second blanket, which is like a thin little sheet, and I picked it up, and my arm just was like, nope, I don't want to do that, and it like popped. My elbow just like, and it hurt so bad. I went to go, after I was trying to put the rest of my bed, the bed away again, I was like trying to pick up my blankets, and my arm was just like, no, you're not going to. And I was like, what the heck did I do? So then yesterday comes along, and phone gets a text. But
yes, I was gonna say. Ding.
But Friday comes along, and I go to get out of my chair, and the same arm like pops, and I don't know what's going on with it, but it my elbow keeps popping. It's not in and out of the socket or anything. But
does it? I was gonna say, does it hurt when it pops?
Oh yeah, really bad.
Okay, because it does sound like it's going out of the socket.
But it doesn't. It's weird.
I have that happen on both my knees, and the more it happens, the easier it is to happen again and again and again.
It doesn't hurt right
now.
It
hurts so bad. I've actually tore. There's like a little gel sac underneath your knees that kind of prevents bone from rubbing on bone. Both of mine on both my knees have tore. So I'm going to have surgery eventually, but I can push that off for a while.
Do you have to get that taken care of? I mean, it's going to be worse when you're older.
Well, no, you're fine. It hasn't affected me very much now, but they're like, the EMT person that was there last time was like, hey, yeah, luckily one of my buddies was an EMT, and so he was there, and he was like, yeah, you should probably get this fixed eventually, but you're fine for now.
Well, I also just happened to look down at my hand, and I have a fat cut that's bleeding. I don't even know where that came from.
What did you do?
I don't know. I don't know.
This is a very interesting lukewarm open you've brought us into here.
It all has to do with the lukewarm open, though, because I was thinking we constantly are doing animals, taverns, NPCs, and so I was wondering if we did something a little bit more mechanical this time and run an injury table. Have you ever done that before? Have you ever thought about doing that before?
I did. I tried to. I wrote one out. I did the whole create it and kind of focus on what it would be like and how it would affect things. But I just never had a group that I felt like...
that were gritty enough to be like, let me get hurt.
That would want that. Yeah, that would be like, let's do this. I mean, I would love to play with that. I love that kind of permanent consequences to going down and things like that. And it's actually I love all that.
My favorite thing about an injury table is that it changes healing from I'm going to heal you every time you go down because you get an injury if you go down to you have to actually use healing to try and mitigate damage, so it makes it a little bit different than what healing normally is in D&D.
Yeah, I like the idea of I like the idea of the person saying not do it. They don't have the chance of saying, "Hey, why don't you just keep your 2 hit points, die, and then we'll raise you next
right,
turn."
As a bonus action. Yeah.
Yeah, they wouldn't want to do that because that person would then have an injury, and who knows how bad that would be. They could lose their arm,
or they could lose an eye.
Then it kind of it creates this kind of need to fix it now.
Yeah, I've always wanted to run an injury table, but I've never had a group that's like, let's run injury tables because it just takes a It takes a
But see, your
special type of
combats.
person.
But no, that's the thing. Like, I think if you were to run specifically in your world, you would have to tone down combats.
Oh yeah, I'd have to ease up on combat a tiny bit.
Yeah, because if every single combat people are going to go down, or at least one person's going to go down, then it's not going to. Then there's going to be so many injuries. It's like by 5 sessions, this person is a useless.
Yeah, we're going to finish a combat and nobody has limbs.
Yeah, like the character will become useless quickly.
Yeah, no, totally. But yeah, so I've always wanted to do it, and I know Mark Humes does one for High Rollers. And if you haven't watched High Rollers, I think it's really good. But his is really interesting.
I mean, you got me to watch. You got me to watch like I watched like 60 episodes, and then I just haven't.
Yeah, I haven't.
I was like 10 or 11 off of the where they were at the time.
Yeah,
and now they're at like 100 and something, and I'm like, I don't.
yeah, but he used to do it on a crit too, so it was like really bad. Like,
yeah,
and just in our game, like I've crit Jonah like 4, 5, 6 times already in 3 sessions or whatever, 3 combats or 4 combats.
Yeah,
he wouldn't even be a character anymore.
Yeah,
but Mark Humes got rid of that because it was a little bit too much. So,
but yeah, that's like injury tables can be interesting and can add a little flair, but it's just knowing when it should actually affect them and kind of.
Well, Mark has
having
a
it be more interesting.
Throw. Yeah, Mark does it where it's like if you take damage and go down, you got to make a Constitution saving throw, and it's the DC of half the damage you took, like a concentration check.
Yeah.
So like if you get hit by a dragon's breath,
but it's
and go
also
down,
with him, it's like there's a process to fixing them. Which there was some interesting storylines with that, where they were like, "Oh, we have to get up the money to fix this person's thing
it's really
and whatnot."
Yeah, it's really interesting in a low level one because, like, you break your leg in the middle of the woods, and it's like, well, how are we gonna get you out of the woods?
Yeah, now you have half movement, and
yeah, but I do think it's fun.
Take longer.
I think it also adds some really fun like character development stuff where like you don't have an eye anymore.
Does, yeah.
Like, like fun
things that you
character.
wouldn't plan for your character.
Yeah,
but it would be really interesting to see how your character deals with.
But at the same time, it's really annoying to be like, I lost an eye, now I have disadvantage on perception checks.
Yeah.
It's super annoying. But anyways, I think that's it for Lukewarm Open.
Yeah. Well, last week I kind of teased what we were talking about this week. The Krogans. And they're this Mass Effect race. Since we originally talked about the Rachni, it felt like it was a great chance to talk about the Krogan, because the Krogan only became important in the lore of Mass Effect because of the Rachni.
Okay.
Now, Krogans are large reptilian bipeds, and I actually had an idea last episode where I am one of the things I'm bad at when it comes to D&D and DMing is descriptions. So, Aaron, I have posted images of a Krogan in Discord. Can you describe to the listeners what a Krogan looks like?
I don't know. What the
It's the
heck?
one with a thumbs up. You can see the picture.
The one with the thumbs up? What are the other two?
Well, the one at the bottom, those are called Solarians, and we'll talk about those later. We talked about those last week, Solarians. And the ones above, all 3 of those are Krogans.
I don't know how to describe. This is weird looking. What the heck is he? What the crap? He's like. Okay, well, the first thing that pops into my mind is he looks like a snail in his armor. I'm not gonna lie, a standing snail. Like if you were to put legs,
kind of a snail
SpongeBob
turtle.
Yeah, like a snail turtle guy in armor, but.
But he also has like chitin on his head and
he's like
running
a turtle
down his body.
Yeah, he's like a turtle with a keratin hat and a shell-like armor. Yeah, dude, it's weird looking. Does he have is that tattoos or scars, or what is that little like?
Oh, the one on the top, those are scars over his face. They're a warring race, so they have a lot of like scars are important to them. Like, being a warrior is very important. I'd have to think about
how to do this. I'd have to sit and write this out for a while. Not just
they grew up
turtle thing.
They grew on a planet with harsh environments and an overabundance of predators.
Wait, when you say grew, what does that mean? Like did they just like grow in a vat?
Their race developed. No, their race just like the humans developed on Earth.
Got it.
Yeah. and they had an overabundance of predators. Now, this race did not just live, they actually ended up thriving on this planet that they were built perfectly for. Now, I could go ridiculously far into why their eyes are the way they are and like very detailed into like all their biology, but I'm going to skip all of those because their history, and so I'm just going to talk about the history and some of the stuff that happens in the games. Now, the stuff in the games, because it's an RPG, can be played multiple ways. So I'm going to kind of stick, if I do talk about stuff that happens in the game, I'm going to stick with the good or Paragon options for the history of the Krogan. Now, ancient Krogans had developed, like many others, with rich culture, architecture, and art. But in modern times, it's nearly all lost because the Krogans reproduce insanely quickly. They lay clutches of about 1,000 fertilized eggs a year. Now,
Wait,
the environment on their...
One Krogan lays 1,000 eggs a year?
Yeah, a female Krogan lays 1,000 eggs a year. Fertilized
Do they
eggs.
have to crawl across the beach to get to the ocean to avoid seagulls and crabs and all sorts of dangerous predators?
No, they're not. There are dangerous predators, but no. Now, the environment on their planet Tuchanka, including the massive deadly predators...
We got to stop there. Tuchanka?
Tuchanka, it's their planet. Tuchanka.
Tuchanka?
Tuchanka.
Oh my gosh.
It's a good name. It's a good name.
Tuchanka.
Tuchanka. Yeah.
Tuchanka.
Yeah, their planet of Tuchanka. So including the
like
massive predators.
You get up in the morning and you go downstairs and like, your roommates or your parents or anyone who you live with, your spouse, downstairs and like Tuchanka. She's like Tuchanka. And you get your coffee and then go back upstairs. That's what I...
What?
I don't know. It's just like a good morning greeting.
I thought of a Tuchanka truck.
Tuchanka truck. Why did my brain go to good morning?
Yeah, what is that? I'm very confused. Okay.
I don't know.
So the environment on their planet of Tuchanka, including the massive dangerous predators, helped quell their numbers. So they never expanded too quickly, even with this 1,000 babies a year.
Wow, that's a real dangerous planet.
Yeah, it is. It really is.
Imagine if humans had 1,000 babies a year.
That would be madness. Absolute madness. But when the
Krogans...
Exactly, because you would use up all the resources there. It's really, there's a lot of problems.
It would be so bad.
But that's exactly what we're about to explore here. When the Krogans industrialized, life became too easy, and that harsh statement to say and stance to make, but the results speak for themselves. As they expanded, no longer losing massive amounts of lives, resources of the planet became scarce as more and more people consumed the limited resources.
Ah, yes. Too many people were having too many cups of coffee.
Because of the environment and the hostility of it, the culture had already a tendency for conquest and kind of warrior and fighting, normally fulfilled by the predators and the environment. But as I said earlier, those challenges were becoming menial. So they began to look elsewhere for a challenge. And you know what they found? Each other.
Tuchanka.
Each other. Now, this warring between each other was not made in a vacuum. Dwindling resources and other factors definitely attributed to it. But massive war between clans were held and fought for what food and territory they had. Now, this all sounds bad, and it is, but it gets way worse. Because with all of these wars, one thing is growing rapidly. And this happens in any actual wartime, in real life, in mythology, anywhere. The one thing that they are working on a lot during war is war technology. And this is when the Krogans create nuclear weapons. Now, these battles over territory become even more important as part of the world begins to be glassed, and it continues to shrink the habitable territory on Tuchanka. And in the end, the whole world is turned into a radioactive wasteland. And the Krogans became nothing more than primitive warring clans, fighting every day just to survive. Rough. Yeah, in this harsh world of their own creation. This world continued in this way until the Solarians found them. The Solarians came down and met with the Krogan, and quotation marks, culturally uplifted them. They did this by giving and teaching them about advanced technology. and relocating them to a planet not glassed by nuclear war. They even gave them a structure called the Shroud, which worked to terraform their world back to what it once was. So they were even helping to re-terraform Tuchanka back to a nice, nice planet. Now, the Solarians, as we talked about last week, despite not telling the Krogan specifically, they aided them with one goal in mind: to add them to the Citadel's military to fight the Rachni that we talked about last week. And this plan worked perfectly. And within 2 generations, the rapidly breeding Krogan had the numbers and skill to fight back against the Rachni.
Dang.
Now, since the Rachni reside on planets much like the Krogan homeworld, they were able to fight the Rachni on their homes, where the Citadel races couldn't fight effectively. Now, for a brief period after the Krogan were hailed as heroes of the galaxy after defeating the Rachni, they were granted all of the worlds the Rachni had colonized and planets within Citadel space to colonize as thanks for their victory.
Wait. Wouldn't you be worried that they're going to be worse than the Rachni?
Well, so they're trying to engage them in the world and kind of in the intergalactic community. And so they're hoping that having them be these kind of wartime allies, they'll kind of have a connection and friendship almost with the Citadel races and whatnot.
But like they're a perfect specimen of breeding and destruction, and then you just gave them a bunch of planets
and a bunch of advanced technologies enough to attack you.
Yeah, this can't be a good idea.
But once again, without any environmental pressure, they overexpanded and began to run low on resources, and saw their only recourse to travel and forcibly claim other worlds. Now, these worlds were already claimed by Citadel races. Despite trying to end this peacefully, the Krogans always needed just one more planet.
Yeah, I knew
when the Krogans colonized the colony of Lucia, it was the final straw, and they were commanded by the council to leave. When required to leave, they simply scoffed.
Make me.
And said, take your worlds back. And in the end, they did, because war broke out.
Now, this Krogan rebellion... Make me leave.
Yeah, yes. Now, this Krogan rebellion lasted for nearly 300 years. Despite the Krogans taking massive casualties, their birth rate kept them going, never lacking troops. During this time, another race is found called the Turians, and they are very resilient as well. And they were not uplifted in the same way the Krogans were. They actually found their way into Citadel space by advancing their culture enough to travel there. And so they quickly joined the military and began to lead attacks against the Krogan. During this 300 years, people had been researching ideas to help defeat the Krogan. And one was proposed. One was proposed and created by the Solarians. Using their science and intimate knowledge of the Krogan, they created a biological weapon they called the genophage.
Nice. That's a great weapon and name. Oh, gosh.
The Turians are tasked with delivering it to the Krogan strongholds, and it quickly infects all of the Krogan, and it fundamentally changes their cells. What it does is it alters hormone levels in Krogan and disrupts their fertility. It does not prevent it. It causes many of the large clutch of eggs to not develop. It prevents some from developing nervous systems, destroying the children early. Those who survive, it's horrible. Those that survive that many hatch only to be stillborn. The survival rate is only 1 in 1,000.
Wow.
It's horrifying. The genophage is a horrifying thing, because out of they lay 1,000 eggs. Even the ones that begin to develop, there is a very high chance they're going to be stillborn. It is a horrifying.
Yeah, that's super rough.
Yes, yeah. This, as I'm sure anyone with any empathy can realize, is demoralizing. And the Krogan are forced to accept terms of surrender. And Turians are praised and given a seat on the council for their aid against the Krogan.
Yeah.
Now, this is insanely high praise, because even at the point where the games are set in, there's only 3 races on the council: the Solarian, the Asari, and the Turian. So by being given a seat on the council, that's huge. Over the last millennium, the Krogan have dwindled, unable to reproduce. Their numbers continue to fall and not replenish. Despite trying many things to fix this, nothing seems to work, and a fatalism sets into their culture. This actually makes them an even deadlier enemy, as many feel they have nothing to lose, since the death of their race is visible to them. They can see it on the horizon, the dwindling numbers, and all that. It turns out that during the times of the games, the Solarian created a group, the Special Task Group. They saw the Krogan biology, thanks to its resilience, actually began to fight off the genophage and make itself immune. Eventually, it would become fully immune, but it wasn't going to happen anytime soon. But it would happen eventually, and the Solarians fear that what would happen. So
Yikes.
They created this group and secretly distributed into the atmosphere of the Krogan worlds a modified genophage to keep it going. Now during
bad.
Now during a talk with a scientist from the Special Task Group, he informs you that the genophage is not created to kill the Krogan. It shouldn't cause their population to dwindle in any way. It literally just takes into account their pre-industrialized survival rate and makes the current one match that. It's the Krogan's fatalism and want to fight that is causing them to die too much and dwindle.
Nice.
Now, I thought about talking about some stuff that happens in the games, but I feel this is sufficient to understand the Krogan, and I don't need to spoil anything from the games.
I've never played them.
So Aaron,
it'd be a spoiler to me.
Yes. Yeah. So Aaron, we kind of talked about this off air. I think we start a new season today. Episode 27, we start a new season.
A new world? New world, who dis?
Yes. New world, who dis. Now, I think I'm definitely going to put that in the description of this episode because I think that's funny.
New world, who dis?
New world, who dis. Yeah, it's going to be the first line in our description. Now, my idea for what we can create from these Krogan is like a starting race. So like whatever gods and whatever we eventually develop, they create originally just one race. That's it. And maybe this race is even like almost like angels. So they're partially like they're more powerful than like the races that people are going to be playing during the campaign time. And I don't know exactly what happens, but something happens, and like this massive destruction with nuclear weapons, they kind of cause chaos on the world, and through this chaos, that's when a bunch of other races start springing up because of something this powerful race did. But what I was thinking is that like the people in the world, I don't know whether it's like we make it specifically like we keep it celestial, so maybe it's like divine soul sorcerers and like Azamar, like people who are those things, they have blood of this original race. Or if it's like everyone who can cast magic, like to be able to use magic, you have to have some of this blood. And so maybe there becomes like later on like tests or things to be like, oh, do you have the blood? Do you have the capability of magic?
Okay. I like this idea of creating a race, I do like a celestial race of like first people or first humanoids. So I guess we say gods made them. Okay, we're not going to go too much into that, I'm assuming.
Yeah.
What are they? Do we want them to be angels? Do we want them to be like D&D angels, like planetars and whatever?
I don't know. I kind of see them more like Shatter Kai and Eladrin, where they're like they seem they look like a race that like is typical like quotation marks elves for Shatter Kai and Eladrin, but there's more to them. They are closely related to the gods in a way, so that they're almost like angels.
All right, I have an idea.
Okay.
I have an idea, and this may or may not work, but I'm
Sounds
thinking
like your bird has an idea as
my
well.
bird is
She
so
really
loud
wants
right
to
now.
talk.
Yeah, she's so loud. I don't know what her problem is. It's because my roommates are doing laundry and she hears them. But yeah, come here. But I'm thinking, was thinking, and then my bird screams. But I'm thinking that what we do is, wow, he's so loud. Come to me,
Yeah.
please.
This is a really good idea, Aaron. I love this idea. This is so
I know,
good.
just a bird screaming idea, isn't it great? It's just the struggle of my life, you know? It's just the struggle. The struggle. I'm gonna pretend that she doesn't exist. And she's gonna scream.
And I'm going to have to do a lot of editing. Sorry, folks.
Yep. All right. So, what I'm thinking is she's gonna be quiet now? Okay. What I'm thinking is every time.
She's like, no, I just tricked you.
Every
Got you.
single time I say what I'm thinking is, she screams. Okay, so I'm thinking that.
What you're thinking is.
Yeah, exactly. Okay. I just can't look at her. If I look at her, she gets excited. Yep. I'm gonna try closing my shades. Actually, see if that helps.
Okay. And we're going to leave all of
Keep
this
our
in.
audience
or we're cutting
entertained,
this in?
Josh.
Well, I think we
Sing
have
them a
to.
song.
I think we have to. I think I do really want to make sure that we get that. Like whether it's magic users or just these special people, they have the blood of these creatures inside them. I think that is a important and interesting story part that I really liked. What could they have done? That's the question.
Okay.
What could they have done?
Well, this is where my what I'm thinking is comes in, but my
Okay.
bird doesn't want me to say it. But so we have this. I like angelic race. We have this angelic race, and
Okay.
Aasimar are like their descendants. Okay, that's just what I think that just fits really well with D&D. That's just how D&D works really well. And maybe even like
Yeah.
divine soul sorcerers, depending. But what I'm thinking is the gods created these like I don't want to say perfect, but like superior, this like divine version of what they think the races should be, and they ended up growing and they essentially flourished in the material plane. And I'm thinking what happens is these divine beings end up forming, I don't know, let's go with a random number, 9 kings. And these 9 kings ended up essentially attacking and killing each other. So very similar to like these 9 kings formed their own independent groups and they ended up slaughtering each other. And our
Okay.
campaign is going to be called The 9 Kings.
Okay, the 9 Kings.
I don't know what it's going to be about with these 9 kings, but maybe they're all like somebody's
This is
trying to bring
interesting.
these 9
This is
kings
an interesting
back.
idea for our second season. Just starting off with this is the campaign name. We figure it out based off that. So
Yep.
we know there's this early race. Something happened and split them into 9 groups. These 9 groups.
Yeah, I'm thinking what it is there were like 9 greater, not deities, but greater people in this race.
Well, we
And what
could
they-
we could have just specifically 9 greater deities and the rest
Okay.
are lesser
Yeah.
or
And what
that
happens
works.
is
And so and maybe so like some of them are evil, some of them are good, and they each have their followers of this base race.
Right, this is what I was thinking. And so these like 9 kings that they're essentially called, they gain their own like groups and followers, these like massive groups, and they ended up all splitting due to different opinions, different morals, different
Oh wait,
ideas.
do they all betray their
What?
gods? Is that what you're saying? They betrayed their
I like
gods?
that. I mean, I like that too. And I don't know.
Oh,
And-
then what were you saying? They all are you just saying they split from each other?
Yeah, well, they split from each other. I mean,
okay.
they could betray the
I
gods.
thought you were
and
saying they
maybe
split
that's
from
how
their
other
gods.
races
They
come
all
in.
like, because I was thinking maybe something happens and they all kind of like, I don't know if they just develop to a point where they're like, why am I like?
All right, I
like
have an idea.
They get this freedom or free will that they're like, we want to do more than what these gods are telling us.
I have another idea. What if we continue along these 9 kings route and they split, as like essentially their own nations and kingdoms based on their own
Okay.
ideals, but they also split from the gods. And so how normal races come about is they started creating humans, elves, dwarves, and they ended up, after these 9 kings fought, they ended up like eradicating this race.
Ooh, okay, wait, no, I have an idea. Okay, I'm thinking these 9 kings, they became the 9 kings grew into the 9 kingdoms, which these 9 kingdoms began to war against each other, And what happens is these creatures are creatures of like divine energy themselves. They are more than just like the classic races. So in these parts where these kingdoms, they're having these giant angel wars, pretty much. In wherever those happen, life begins to sprout after the war is done. And so each race in this world was grown from these a conflict that happened before.
All right, I have another idea that stems off of this. So these 9 kings, they turn into their 9 kingdoms, and what if we did, instead of like these are like angel, this is like an angelic race. What if we did like they're trying to become an angelic race, and so they end up doing these strange things to try and become deities, and they split and war over each other, trying to gain control and power to become like deities. Because what I'm also thinking is like, and this is
well, so okay, weird, I like where you're playing on this, but I think what we should do is we should make them in D&D terms demigods.
Got it. Yeah, that's fine.
So,
that's totally fine.
Because demigods are not they actually don't have the ability. They're not really gods in any way. They're just very powerful humanoids. And I think what the gods learn from this is never create people of such power again. And so that's why the modern races are not as powerful as these guys.
What? Okay, wait.
Okay.
What if, again, new season, new world, what if we did these 9 kingdoms started creating their own races?
I thought about that. I thought that was definitely an idea that ran through my head. Yeah. Okay. So what do you see their uses for these races to be? Why are they creating them?
That's where I'm stuck. You know, like, I mean, like, there's the obvious like war. There's the obvious worship. There's the obvious.
Wait. Okay. This race, they began to create creatures as commodities. So they created dwarves to mine the stone. They created dwarves to work in the mines, and they would sell them to the one kingdom that created those would sell them to the other kingdoms. Eventually, though, all of these groups are like, screw this. Like the modern races rebelled, and there was a huge revolution, killing all of these, or supposedly killing all of these, whatever we call this race.
Right. Well, what I'm thinking is that we combine both of these ideas, and let's say the gods are saying, hey, these groups are becoming so much more powerful that we start giving powers to humans. So that's how like paladins and clerics and things started coming about. Like the gods start trying to intervene, and for some reason they can't like come down and slaughter everything, but like they start making clerics and paladins. So these like races that have been created for commodities rebel, like you were saying. They rebel and essentially attack and kill the perfect beings with sheer numbers. But the question is why were these original divine beings created in the first place by gods?
Well, I mean, I feel like that's easy. There's plenty of reasons why in mythologies and other world lores, why, like, just to test the world. They want something to play with. They want entertainment. Maybe they want followers. They want people that choose to follow them. Maybe they gain more power from that. Or
I mean, we can do the classic. They want to, there's always the classic. They want worshipers. They want to share their creation. We can do that classic trope. I want something different, though. I want something unique. Why would gods create these races?
They were lonely. There is... Wow. You're going to make a Justin Bieber reference on this podcast? Wow. Okay.
No.
I heard you.
Oh my god.
Wow, Aaron. Okay.
I stand for Justin Bieber, baby.
Okay.
The gods created a perfect entity with him. No.
So the original race in this world is called the Biebers.
They're all Justin Biebers. They just sang Biebers all the time.
No, we're not doing that. But
wait. They created them through song. you know, just like Justin Bieber.
But no, so it was loneliness. I think I kind of want the gods to be at be lower in this world. So I think the gods don't know how they're created. I think there's something created the gods and they don't know. So the gods, there's like, as we said, 8 major ones. Oh, 9 major ones, sorry, for each kingdom.
I mean, I don't know if these. So I'm thinking.
But
more
no, hold on. Let me do this.
I was just talking about 9 kingdoms, because I was thinking they were just.
But yeah, so I just want to say, so the 9 gods, they see the universe. They see every other planet, and maybe we have the planets be exact same as they are in our world. And what happens is there's nothing anywhere. All of these planets are empty. In this vast universe, there's nothing. And so eventually these 9 people are just like, we're lonely. Like, there's nobody.
So they end up creating this divine race.
Yeah, and maybe they create lesser deities by, like classic deities do, relationships together. And they just have children, and that's how they get lesser deities and those things. But they wanted things quicker, so they created mortals, because you could create those quickly.
Okay. Yeah. It's so... Okay, I like it. But it just feels so tropey, you know?
Really?
Which is fine. But yeah, because it's like, you know, that's why a lot of gods in mythology create people because they're lonely and want to share their existence with people. Okay. Which is fine. I mean, if we want to do that, we can totally do that. But
no, But yeah, so I mean, I like the idea of let's try to find something weird and unique for why our races were created.
Yeah, it's just it's
do you have any?
Difficult. It's well,
yeah, it's hard to do. There's so many like fantasy books and fantasy worlds that finding one thing that's never been done before is...
Yeah, I mean, I think the most logical would probably be like they want to share existence. So they created, they wanted to share their creation. Like they created the material plane or some of whatever these planets, and they wanted to share it, which would go along the same lines of they're lonely because they wanted to like share this existence, this thing they created.
They wanted to torture something?
Okay, well, what if... Okay, I have some... Okay, we're going to go along the lines that they're lonely and they wanted to share this existence. But what I'm thinking is we do somewhat of a little bit of a mythological trope, but they created a perfect world, essentially, like the perfect plane. Do we want to go planets or planes? What do we want to do?
Well, okay. Planets and planes are different to me.
Well, one flies because of gravity, and the other one creates gravity.
I don't understand that. Okay.
Because planes fly because of aerodynamics and gravity?
Oh, wow. No. You're... Okay. No. I'm meaning... I think planes... Like, I always like to have planes in my world be their own universes. So when you transport to a plane, you are on the... quotation marks, material plane of that universe.
See, I do it different.
But there is a whole star system completely different than yours.
Yeah, see, I do it different. I normally do, like, which I think I've probably explained before, but I normally do, like, it's just layers of a world, like a stack of paper, essentially, and you can go in between them all. And then what's in between them is the astral sea. That's normally what I do. But so do we want to do more of, like, a planet? Or do we want to do more of like a plane system, like you were saying?
It's up to you.
Well, either way, what I'm thinking is they do like a perfect plane, and they create these divine entities to reside over it. And what I'm thinking is with this divine race, they nominate their own kings, and they split up into 9 kingdoms, which is what we have so far. They end up fighting each other and killing each other to, I think, what if, oh my gosh, okay, what if the gods created this divine race as like an experimental gladiatorial ring? And so these 9 kingdoms end up forming, and whichever kingdom won, their leader gains godhood.
Okay, so wait, so there's okay. Now I want there to be one major deity.
Different. Holy cow!
I love that though. So there is one major deity. That's they are the greater deity. They are the ones who grant godhood. They have created these lesser deities and said, there's a competition. Whoever wins
gains godhood.
Gets godhood. They decided on combat, and they decided to do it this way. They created these 9 kingdoms, and they would fight.
Yeah. So what I'm thinking is the god doesn't even necessarily say combat, but in the end, whichever individual or whichever group create the best society in my eyes, or how do we make it nebulous so that it's not like you have to fight? Because what I'm thinking is like,
No, I want it to be. I want this major deity to be evil.
like
I want
this
it
is
to
just
be
a complete
he wants
gladiatorial
combat.
slaughter.
Yes, I want it. I want this guy to be. That's his thing. Is like fight for me. Like he
I think that's
sees
pretty
everything,
cool.
everything below. Which I don't know. I don't want to force it. I said he, but I don't want to force. If it, I feel like
I think
we
it's
could go
probably
anywhere.
like they. To be honest, I like this.
Yeah, it
nebulous.
could go anywhere. It's just, it's just like this force almost. This like innate thing that's just everywhere.
And now it's
so
in every
this-
person,
this-
and it's their will to fight. All humanoids. And that's
yeah,
why
it's
they
called
always
the
are warring.
midichlorians. It's in all
Yeah,
living
and
beings.
we'll have to read midichlorian counts, and well, Anakin's. There's gonna be this guy named Anakin, and he has a
excessive
really high one.
midichlorian
Yeah,
counts.
yeah, and
But no,
he hates
but
sand
so-
though.
Yeah, but so
That's his
this
weakness.
this deity.
Wait.
They are
before
not
we go,
good in any way.
Wait, before we
they
go.
are. Yes.
Before we go, I have a theory about Star Wars.
Okay.
And this is completely off topic.
Okay, is this what you this? Okay.
The reason why Darth Vader is so mad in the beginning is because Lord Sidious keeps sand in his armor, and so he's so upset all the time.
Okay, this is stupid. This is not this. No, we're done. I thought it was gonna be something serious. It wasn't. This is no. We're done. We're done, Aaron.
Yeah, we're done. Okay. My bird's not done though. She hasn't been done the whole time.
But so no, this deity is evil. I want this major deity to be just a bad person, and so I think it's these races. This race, they are the ones who eventually say
wait.
wait,
What
okay,
if we
okay,
make
no,
it
I got
evil?
it.
Okay.
I got it. No, I got it. Hold on. They are. These races are this first race, this kind of more powerful race. They are made with this, like somehow maybe they literally have midichlorians. Maybe it's something like that. And midichlorians are actually from this greater deity, but this greater deity is evil. So what they want, that they eventually, after years, like thousands and thousands of years of just these 9 kingdoms fighting, they say enough, and so they create people that are not linked to midichlorians. They are not stuck with this greater deity. And that's how we get the major races that we know today. They are ones who are unlinked. And so maybe this greater deity now has been like almost stripped of some of his power because he can't affect these races anymore, but he wants to, and they want to, and they're trying to like fight their way into and cause problems because they want war, they want fighting, they want all the bad emotions, like in Pandora's box, all those strife and all that.
I like this idea, but I want to take it to the next level of evil. So what I'm thinking is the god doesn't create them as warring factions at first. What he does is he creates them as a singular race, and they end up dividing into 9 kingdoms, and he lets them prosper and grow, and then he comes to them and he says, like, now you're in an ultimate competition. The first one to win gains godhood. And so then it kind of turns dark because his whole original intent was to do this, but he wanted to like watch them prosper and
let
experience,
them gain and work
experience
together
the
and
goodness
gain
of
friendships.
Yeah, experience the goodness of friendship
interesting.
and relationships and the goodness of
and
prosperity
working together
and
as
abundance.
yeah.
And then
they wanted to see society get to a point where weapons were advanced enough that it would be fun to
like
watch,
magics and
as
things
they
are
would
so
say.
advanced, and then it's
Yes.
just fun to watch them slaughter each other and be torn apart.
But so I do want to say that I think that all of these 9 kingdoms should have a lesser deity above them. Like that's the lesser deity is the one getting granted, because you can't grant a whole kingdom.
No, but what I like
godhood.
What
so I think they're each led and follow a lesser
See,
deity.
but what I like better, what I like better, and we don't have to use this, but what I like better is they don't, and one person like over time gains that, or like they become liches, or like we have these like each individual kingdom, their leader essentially becomes one of these lesser deities in an attempt to gain godhood. So like you have one kingdom who this lich slaughters half his population in order to gain maximum power to try and take over and destroy other nations. You have another leader who, like another king who, goes insane and becomes this like fallen demon, of chaos and destruction. You have you have these once like elegant kings and princes who are like full of abundance and prosperity, and they all, because the god comes to them and says, hey, look, if you are able to achieve this, then you can gain godhood. And so they all go mad.
Yeah, I mean, I like the idea of some of the people trying to achieve the power of godhood in other ways, like lichdom and other things.
Because I think
I find it so hard to think to see people fighting very hard for their king to become a god. That just like me personally, I would not be motivated to do that
unless you're king.
That's why I think I think the society has to be devoted to something. Like they have to
not unless you're
already
king,
be following.
Like you could have a society.
That's why I think that
king
they're already following
them that he's a god, and that's why that society fights for them.
But that's why, like, at that point, let's just make him a lesser deity, or maybe even like some sort of like demigod. Like they're less than a lesser deity, because I don't really see the point of just making them mortal.
I mean, the reason why I like being mortal is because it adds more layers than just 9 lesser deities with their troops fighting.
Mm-hmm. Well, I think they're lesser deities that live in the kingdom. They rule it like the king, like a king, but their power wise are lesser deities.
But I still like the idea of like just a random person in this divine race becoming a king and creating his own nation and not a lesser deity. I mean,
okay,
yeah, I mean,
that's fine.
I would have to figure out why their nations are fighting for their kings. But it's definitely not heard of in human history for people to fight for their kings for many different reasons.
Unless they're considered deities or whatnot.
I mean, you have nations today who think their leaders are gods, and they do anything for their leaders. So I think, we could just do that. The god, after they created these 9 kingdoms, comes to the 9 kings and then says, hey, if you can convince your armies and your groups to fight for you, and if you can gain this amount of power, then I'll grant you godhood. And so it becomes these 9 kings are trying to scheme their people into following them to a destruction and war and chaos. So maybe we change it up a tiny bit.
So some begin like straight up like I'm just going to become. Well, I think they don't even say. I don't think
because I think I like the idea where these 9 kingdoms form. They have their own kings, and they're following their own kings because they think they have the best route to prosperity or whatever. They are the best leaders to rule over their nations. And I think...
so the main thing that I was... Sorry, I got distracted. But the main thing I was saying there was just that I don't think that tricking their people should be a requirement to win.
No, it's not. But it's
because I want people to their very first idea is I'm going to kill all of my people and make myself the most powerful thing in the world,
right? So
that I can do it myself. And so there's some civilizations that just immediately the leader became a lich and tried to just gain power that way.
Right. So
others that tried to convince their whole group, like, fight for me, do all this.
You have groups that promise everlasting paradise if you fight for me. And
and some say, if I become a god, I'll
grant you all, like lesser deityhood, or I'll grant you all, virgins in heaven, like just all. There's, plethora, anything you want, like. And you have groups that immediately trick their people. You have groups that immediately cast magics to control and mind control them. You have, So I'm thinking that I like that idea. And then whoever wins becomes a god. And that's the first race. A race created for the sole purpose of flourishing at first and then turning into a gladiatorial bloodbath on the material plane. Which is absolutely horrible. What's wrong?
Yes.
And I think it's also different because a lot of, from what I understand, a lot of, in lore, creation deities are, good or at least neutral. There's not a lot of, plain evil creation deities that I'm aware of, where their sole purpose is to create a literal bloodbath on their plane or planet that they inhabit.
Yeah.
Most of the time, it's like, we
Yeah,
want to create for loneliness, or we want to create to share our existence, or we want to create for companionship and relationships. No,
yeah.
I'm creating because I want to watch you slaughter each other after you've gained for relationships and friendships. Gosh. But then the next question becomes, which might be a topic for next episode, is how do we get like deities, like greater deity, lesser deities and stuff, like the pantheon.
Yeah, I've been thinking about that. I'm like, how do we get lesser deities if we're not going to have the kings be
Yeah,
them?
I'm not sure how you'd go from that.
Because we might just not have lesser deities. They might just be demigods. It's demigods and then the greater god, and that is it in this world. And so demigods will just make demigods a little more powerful, where demigods can now have clerics and stuff. And so maybe we have people like that just fight and become powerful.
I mean,
enough.
not unless this continues for so long that people just start becoming lesser deities.
Oh, maybe people show themselves quotation marks worthy, and so maybe the whole pantheon is just terrible people.
I mean,
because
yikes.
the greater deity just raises terrible people, saying, "Oh, you're worthy. Yeah, you're the one. Oh, you slaughtered all those people. Oh, definitely come to godhood with me."
I mean, that's rough. That's super rough.
That would be rough. Hey, you guys want to play in this terrible?
Where every god sucks. No, I think I want like an actual like pantheon. I think I want like a big complicated pantheon. Because
yeah, I like that. I always like big complicated pantheons.
We have to figure out how we're gonna get that in. How we're gonna fit that.
Mm-hmm. But I think that's a discussion for another day.
It's
So
gonna take a long time.
But what are the? We haven't nailed down what this race is, though. Or should we leave it a mystery? Does nobody know where we're currently at in society?
Well, I'm not sure. Do we want? I guess, how do we, for the new season, how do we want the campaign to go? Like, we created the corruption for the first one. Do we want a group trying to resurrect these 9 kings again? To bring back the death and destruction that was once a thing?
To bring it back?
I mean, you just have a group of fanatic, terrible people who are trying to...
I think, oh, dude, okay. I think the idea might be the greater deity is now
wait. No.
making moves, and the only people with the ability to take it on are these kings who have been granted some sort of power from this deity. And so even though these kings are evil, you have to promise them something when you bring them back that'll make them fight for good for a bit. And maybe even sway some of them to good in the end.
I'm not sure. I like the idea of stopping the 9 kings more so than I like having to convince the 9 kings to fight against a greater deity. But I'm still thinking about lesser deities now. What if this greater deity, in his flawed thinking, also created lesser deities to be gods of these kingdoms, and then he can enjoy watching gods suffer as their people kill each other?
What do you mean? Sorry, I'm a little confused by that.
So he also created a pantheon to grow and have relationships with all of these people and each other.
But are they? So you're saying these are good lesser deities, and they have no control? They're not kings or king. They don't rule.
They're just gods. Yeah, they're essentially gods, like you were to worship any god in real life. And they're like these good divine beings who are interacting with their society, so it magnifies the level of suffering.
But why would they not tell them? Why would they not say, "Hey, this dude's not a god. Your king's not a god."
They don't know. Well, because I mean, then the pantheons would be like, unless the gods don't know.
That's a hard one.
Well, unless the gods don't know.
Starting a world, guys.
Well,
starting a world is hard.
Here we go. Not unless the gods don't know that the greater deity went to the kings. And so the gods are watching the kings.
They just see
essentially rebel and leave against them too. Like, I can promise you godhood if you do this, and you rebel against your gods. And so it's just like a amalgamation of and we can even have, like, in history, a god comes down and kills one of the kings and takes over the kingship, and then like takes over one of the kingdoms, or even the pantheon becomes its own kingdom, and there's a war with the pantheon and the remaining kingdom that killed the rest.
So there's a land of light where these good deities, after realizing that these people are obsessed with becoming gods, like they create their own kingdom.
Or like the greater deity like not imprisons them, but like traps them so they can only watch the suffering that happens with these 9 kingdoms, and then opens them at like a time where they think they've broken through, only to be met with fighting another kingdom and killing their own people. I mean, I think there's multiple things you can do. But I like the idea of him creating gods to interact with their people, and then he just like takes that away and tears it away from them, and then they end up all killing each other, including the gods. Or at the very least, like sealing them away forever. And then what I'm thinking is like the gods, the good deities, still partially exist today after whatever happens with these 9 kingdoms, which we don't know yet, but wild, different, very different.
Yes, it is. That is. I like this. This is a good start.
The age of prosperity where men walked with their gods and men flourished.
I don't know. I think this would be the Warring States period.
No, I'm talking before. It's the age of prosperity where humanity, this divine beings that were created walked with their gods. They flourished in society. And then came like the age of war or whatever, where all of a sudden these 9 kingdoms turned on each other, turned against and rebelled against their gods, and started killing everything. And then we have the God War, where the remaining kingdom, so then after the one kingdom survives and the gods are like imprisoned and they can't escape, the greater deity comes and is like, well, that was really good, but you're not quite done. You have to kill the gods next. And so then he releases the gods, and the kingdom goes to kill the gods. Like, I'll get you godhood now. I'll get you godhood right after you kill these gods. Then you can do it. And so the gods watch their own people come and rebel.
Okay, wait. So, hold on. So in the end, overall, this is gonna be an overall description of what we talked about. So first, greater deity creates these people, sets them into these 9 kingdoms. After some time goes by, he creates deities.
I think he just creates all of them at once, and they separate into their own 9 kingdoms.
Okay. They separate in their 9 kingdoms, and this deity then creates good deities.
Yes.
And puts them into each of these things, planning for a future date, which is actually, this is horrifying, and I love that. Then tells the kings of each of the kingdoms, I will grant you godhood. You must attack. You must be the last kingdom to survive. Yep. They do that. They get down to one kingdom. Before he grants that one kingdom godhood, he tells them the only way to now you have one more task you must do. You must kill those gods that have been with you for a while. Yep. And so, but in the end, of course, the gods win. So he was never going to grant anybody godhood. Yep. He just wanted to see them all die, and also torture the gods who had grown close to all of the humans on, or the whatever race this is, on the planet. That is horrifying. I love it, and it's so cool. And it's very unique.
And what I'm thinking is then the gods rebel against the greater deity, and they like imprison him or something, and then they create their own races or something like that.
Yes, and that's where things start off.
Real humanity starts off. Yeah.
During the campaign, you'll find a bunch of
people trying to like
these ancient texts and like ancient artifacts and things from this warring time.
Yep.
Now, this is great, and I think I'm going to call it here.
It's going to go too long if we keep going.
But that is this is really interesting and weird and cool.
Yep.
And I really like this. And this is a good beginning to season 2. Dungeoneered. Now, I think I'm gonna talk like this to kind of end up.
It's gotta be deeper.
Well, Aaron had a merchant in our campaign. Yesterday. That took a while.
So infuriating.
To say things. They had a lot of knowledge to share, and it was terrifying. It was horrible. Sitting through all of that.
It was so good.
I loved it. It's like that sloth from Zootopia where you're like, this is funny, but you're like, I could not keep listening to this for too long.
No, that's why I gave you the other guy too.
But it was still good. But I just wanted to torture Aaron a little bit with that.
Yep.
But thank you for listening to this episode of Dungeoneered. I hope you like the previous season, and I hope you're gonna like this season.
Episode 28, right?
27.
27. Season 2, episode 1.
No, it's gonna be episode 27 still.
Okay.
Aaron, last week you labeled your audio episode 27, but no, this is episode 27.
Okay, well, rip me.
So
listen, I was stressed last week. A lot of prep for D&D.
Thank you all for listening, and remember, always be the sharpest barrel in the bunch. See you next time.
Deuces.
What?
Wait, bye?